I think there's probably. Is there an echo in the background for you?
No, I do have a fan on if that's what you're hearing.
Oh, there's an echo on my part. Hold on a second.
Oh, okay.
Okay, there's an echo on mine. Let me. I don't know where that echo is coming from.
Uh,
Let's see. I'm trying to think. Really interesting. Oh, okay, that echo's gone.
oh, perfect.
Well,
Oh.
where the hell? Well, I'm I'm thinking I might have another StreamYard on at the same time. I was having difficulties a second ago.
Oh.
Are you hearing it on your end? Just out of curiosity.
No.
Okay. Okay. I'm going to try to improvise the best I can. All right. Welcome to another edition of the Willie Bragg Show.
Hey, guys.
Okay, I'm getting a delay with my voice.
Oh.
Have this ever happened to you before?
Yeah, but I had some actual internal Wi-Fi issues that I recently just got fixed.
Let's see.
Mine used to be real bad, choppy as hell, everything.
Okay, I'm trying to think what's going on here. If I can't troubleshoot this in the next few minutes, I may have to start all over again. So if
No problem.
I'm just trying to think where the hell's coming from. Uh, oh, I think I know where it's coming from. Okay, I think problem is solved.
Awesome.
I think
Oh
so.
wait, let me turn my fan on here because it's gonna get a little hot.
Okay, I know what happened. What happened?
Perfect.
I had my YouTube channel on and live at the same time. So when I was talking, my YouTube channel was being broadcasted. That's what happened. So problem solved. Okay, welcome to another edition of the Willie Bragg Show, folks. I'm so sorry. That was my bad. I take the L on this. Unprofessional on my part. Um,
It happens to the best of
yes,
us.
but you know what? That's okay. Jamarr Jabari's back, and
Hey
that's
guys.
that's part about the situation. So introduce yourself.
Hi, my name is Jamarr Jabari. I am the host of the Jabari VOC Podcast, where I cover music, politics, and culture. How's it going, guys? Good to see you all again, and thank you so much for having me back on the show, Willie Bragg.
Oh, absolutely, and it's always a pleasure. Always a pleasure to have you here, where we can talk politics. My favorite pastime. Um, and as the title says, leftists have options for the year 2024. And of course, there are options with roadblocks because That's the story of the American left. We suffer from roadblocks in ways that the left, the left got problems around the world, obviously, but they have a better success story around the world than we do because this whole thing about American exceptionalism, sadly enough.
Yep.
Yeah. So, I guess basically we should start off with the news that I found out about an hour and a half ago. You may be familiar. You may have been aware of this. I'm not sure, but I call it good news, but it's good news that's a little bit a little too late. And that's from the Cornel West campaign, and he basically says here. I'm very sorry about the resignation of Brother Peter Daou based on his health. I sincerely pray for him and his precious family and thank him for his service to my campaign. And
Interesting.
Yeah. Any thoughts on Peter Daou? And
I have nothing nice to say about Peter Daou, especially what he did to Jill Stein. Unforgiven.
What I know about Peter Daou, through and through, I have no trust whatsoever for him. I mean, I have absolutely no trust for the man. And
Right.
so, I mean, consider the source. He was with Hillary Clinton from those early days. And I do think he was a plant to disrupt the Cornel West campaign.
I wouldn't contest that idea at all.
And I hope that he would reconsider trying to go back to getting the nomination for the Green Party. You think he would do that?
I don't know. The Green Party is the best way to go when it comes to gaining ballot status. I would like to know details on why he left. I felt like it was a good move for him, but I also feel like that there were probably like a lot of issues with how can we mobilize nationally, and how can we be successful in mobilizing nationally. This thoughts that I have in mind. I may have like know some people in the Green Party, but I don't know exactly what the details on why he left.
Yeah, I just think that he would have been great for the Green Party. The Green Party would have been great for him. They would have complemented each other
It
so
should have
well.
worked out. Should have worked out.
Yeah, I mean, we're talking about 5%. If anybody could have gotten the Green Party over that 5% threshold where they could get federal matching, federal funding,
Right.
it was Cornel West, hands down. Maybe Jesse Ventura, but I think that Cornel West could have done this. I mean, he could have done this, and I, I hope that he doesn't have this thought of, oh God, what if I'm the next Ralph Nader? I hope he did, because I've been a socialist since the mid 1990s, and that's when I got first familiar with Cornel West. Actually, around the same time, I started studying up on Bernie Sanders and a lot of the modern day socialists in the 1990s at that time. And I started studying up on a lot of the contemporary socialist figures at that time that were considered, I'm not going to say fringe, but kind of slightly out of the mainstream of American discourse back then. They're a little slightly more mainstream now, or a little more in the political radar, but still, because the American political Overton window is still right leaning.
Right.
People are still considering, they'll consider Cornel West, or Bernie Sanders still as a far left figure. They don't know what far left is.
Right. No, no one really knows. In the mainstream media, they assume that when it comes to far left, they're either aligned to the Democratic Party solely, and they answer to the Democratic Party. Um, and they also assume that liberals are far left when liberalism really isn't far left. They have their own definition of far left. I honestly don't believe in the opinion of far left. I believe that socialism, anarchists, and whichever spectrum of left ideology that you fall under, um, I don't consider it far left. I consider it just a new left, not new, but a leftist ideology that you identify as instead of putting you into a blanket statement. Because yes, there are leftists, but where is their ideology and where do they get their progressive ideas from? And sometimes it differs from what people consider as the general spectrum of what leftism is.
And when people use the term far left, they're basically saying any of these ideas are unacceptable in the political discourse as if it's unreasonable. And generally, where the left will agree, and it's a broad church with a lot of, they're not a monolith. You have people on the left who are, like you said, socialists, communists, anarchists, social democrats. I mean, you name
Yeah,
it. I mean, and I
there's
would
so
say
many different
flavors.
kinds. Yeah, and
Yeah.
social democrat is totally different from Marxism or Mao or uh, chemism. All different types of socialism ideologies,
It's
even from Sankara. Uh, Social democrat is definitely different from all those spectrums of socialism.
to the left of liberalism in America. I mean,
Yeah,
liberalism in America is probably where mainstream center right conservatism is in the Western world. I had to explain that to people.
right.
Chris Hedges. I keep on saying Christopher Hitchens. Chris Hedges. I every time I say Chris, I always go with Christopher Hitchens. Chris Hedges said that the Democratic Party would fit in Western Europe, would fit in mostly with the center right.
Yeah,
You know, a Christian Democratic Party, a conservative party,
right.
some sort of center right formulation in these countries. Tories in the UK,
Right.
for example, some of those MPs are to the left of Nancy Pelosi and and Hawking Jeffries and Chuck Schumer and all of these folks.
Right. Right.
That's
Yeah,
sad.
the real leftists that are running are not Democrats. And I know people won't like that statement, but the real leftists that are running are not Democrats. The real leftists are not a part of the Democratic Party. The real leftists are being shelled from the Democratic Party.
Well, I first heard Passenger Dula and Fiorella Isabel from the Combo Couch say that the Democratic Party is where the progressive and leftist ideas go to die.
Yes.
People try to go and make a difference,
Right.
and may have all the great intentions of the world. Uh, I personally don't think that Bernie Sanders try to sheep herd people into the Democratic Party. But I'm angry with Bernie Sanders at the moment.
Right.
I am
Uh,
angry with him. Feel like I've been not conned, but I do have a degree of resentment at Bernie Sanders at the moment.
yes.
And it's part of
I
being
feel like
out.
we all share that, honestly.
Yeah. I mean, I have a soft spot for Bernie in some ways still too, but because he did inspire me in a lot of ways. Um, and and Kit Cabela says that a lot on Heartlands Media that they got inspired by the Bernie Sanders campaign in 2016, so they wouldn't be doing what they were doing, and a lot
Right.
of us wouldn't be. I mean, a lot of us in this online left space, we're basically the children of Bernie Sanders. I mean, on this online left space, whether some people want to admit it or not, but he let
Yeah.
us down, and it
I would
could.
definitely say I definitely wouldn't have been as radical as I am right now if it wasn't for the Bernie Sanders campaign. I was definitely a Democrat supporter around that time.
Yeah, and I was pretty much, as you know, pretty much a standard social democrat, and that's what Cornel West it's basically offering is standard, like a standard social democratic policies and ideas. I mean, no different from what social democrats will offer in places like Scandinavian countries: the 33-hour work week and single payer health care, free college, that sort of thing. Common sense proposals.
Right. Right.
But you say that here in the United States, they think that we're all a bunch of angry tankies. It's funny.
Yeah, that term "tanky" is kind of hilarious.
I find it humorous. I think it's cute. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Cornel West definitely gave a breath of fresh air for people to have someone that's literally talking about the issues that the Democrats refuse to talk about. And you saw immediately off the bat that his campaign was very effective, could be very, very effective because of the immediate backlash. And for people to understand, it is the Democratic Party themselves that during the campaign with Bill Clinton put into the work to make sure that no third party could ever reach any kind of level into getting into either the Senate or the presidency itself. So they need to continue to suppress third party um, people, and which is kind of ironic because they don't really share this kind of history to their supporters, so their supporters are automatically thinking you're wasting your vote when really your vote was never um, it never mattered in the first place because they are a private company and they sway their ways to set the rules. So all in hand, it's the perfect storm to see that Cornel West is a threat because the way they smeared him shows you that. Like, they, how in the hell did you think they will ever compare Cornel West to Trump? But they did, and they tried to say that he was campaigning for Trump, which is absolutely atrocious that they would say that.
I mean, they have attacked him and smeared him in all kinds of ways, in vicious ways that you can, basically. I mean, the racist trope of the deadbeat dad. I mean,
Right.
I mean, just like, what the fuck is, if a Republican would have done this, if Fox News would have done this, you'd never hear the end of it from Fox News. But when
Right.
the liberals are doing this, these shit libs are doing this, it's like, why is it okay when they do it, and why don't people call them for what they are? A lot of
Right.
these elitists, when they do this bullshit, you know.
Right. Right. And I am definitely was a full supporter of Cornel West. And I want and I hope he still stays in and he gets a really good turnout. But clearly, I would say that the momentum has probably, this is just my opinion. I know other people think different, but in my opinion, I think the momentum is dwindling down for him as we speak, with everything that has went on. And I would love to figure out what exactly went down. Um, Being someone that comes from a third party that has seen successful, um, like amazing successful campaigns where history was made. For instance, with Gloria La Riva, who has made history with the most third party votes ever in in this century in the United States of America. So I know how effective third party can be in swaying, especially in the country of 47% of independent voters. So I just wish I knew exactly what was the issues and why he wasn't so effective to what the momentum that Jill Stein has left.
Yeah, it's a mystery right now because I mean, I had no plans to vote in 2024 until he announced his candidacy. When he announced his candidacy, and I used to say years ago, Bernie, if Bernie could run for president, Of course, he ran in 2016, 2020. And I used to say the same thing about Cornel West. Man, if Cornel West could run for president, and now he's running for president. And I, as I said, I am ready to donate to Cornel West, but I have to hold my money right now just in case he do something like drop out or something. And I'm wondering, that's what I'm a little concerned about that. And I'm ready to donate to his campaign, but I got to make sure he doesn't do something like drop out.
Right. And especially he definitely has a backing. I think there's a chance it will be a lot harder than what it would have been with the Green Party. But I think his name can carry because he is very, very well known. It's not like he's like a Howie Hawkins when everybody's like, who the hell is that? No one knew who the hell that was really. And his political line, I'm glad that. You know what? I'm not going to shit on Howie Hawkins right now, but I have my feelings. He's not like that. He's more of a well-oiled, known machine, especially in the Black community, that is a force to be reckoned with, an academic that also knows exactly what the people are asking for, and he is a mouthpiece for not only my community but for so many more. So he definitely has potential just off his name recognition.
I have never met Cornel West, but I know a good person when I see one, and he is a good person. He even treats his adversaries with kindness that a lot of them don't even deserve. And because I'm like, no, he's a better man than I am. Because I saw him how he was fighting Alan Dershowitz, who's a piece of shit today. I used to, believe it or not, there was a time Alan Dershowitz was actually an okay individual, believe it or not. 35, 40 years ago, the right wing hated Alan Dershowitz. Now they come. Let's see. Sean Hannity, they were all arguing over his position. They try to make him sound like he was some supporter of terrorism, like he's some kind of anti-Semite, which is just absolutely ridiculous. There's that was not one bit true about Cornel West, but they try to go smear him on Fox News a couple of weeks ago and everything like that. And I'm just like, this is just preposterous and all.
It's absolutely crazy where you literally just get attacked from one major party, then you get attacked by other major parties. And it's like, what can you do? That's how you know you're doing the right thing, because they see you as a threat. Black people are not allowed to have political opinions in this country. I think this is what shows it on the high scale. Whenever a Black person has the ability and the platform to speak out, not only just in football, basketball, being a comedian, whatever, we're automatically either ignored or told to shut up, because we're still considered as, how do you think you know what's best for the country when people see you as a problem? Like that anti-Black sentiment that still goes on in America. And I think the attack on Cornel is more severe than the attack on Robert Kennedy is because he's Black. And they only attack Robert Kennedy only on his issues with vaccines. But they have been going all around with Cornel West. I mean, you even mentioned how they brought up the stereotypical term about how Black fathers aren't good fathers. It's literally because he's Black. I mean, remember when Obama was president and they gave him shit for wearing a tan suit? That type of sentiment hasn't changed. I mean, I think we're getting even more back to the racial lines that it was during Jim Crow era with media.
And the thing about it is, if I criticize Obama, I'm criticizing him from the left and on policy disagreements. If
Right.
I'm criticizing
That's
a
what you
media
should.
personality like Candace Owens, same thing. And I get white conservatives calling me a racist if I go and disagree with Candace Owens. I'm like, I don't disagree with
That's
Candace Owens.
crazy.
She's African American. I disagree with her because her opinions are stupid, just like Ben Shapiro's. Yeah,
Yes,
it's not because
exactly.
Ben Shapiro's Jewish either.
Yeah,
You know,
exactly.
yeah. I mean, their opinions just as stupid as Steven Crowder's. You know, so
Yep.
or Charlie Kirk.
Yep.
But yeah, I mean, yeah,
Small
Cornel
noise.
West. Yeah, with Cornel West, the tropes that they use to attack him um, is ridiculous and all that. And as I said, Cornel West. I mean, he's got a brilliant platform and is uh, the basics of what is pretty much what I believe. I mean, pretty much rolled out. I mean, I can't think of anything I would find myself in disagreement with Cornel West on. I'm sure there's something. Nobody's going to agree with anybody on every single thing, but
No.
yeah, I mean, I'm just like I'm yet to find anything where I disagree with him on. And I'm prepared to vote for Cornel West if he's on the ballot in North Carolina. I'm prepared to vote for him. That he is, and that's what I mean with leftists having options. He is my first choice right now.
Mm.
And I on the thumbnail, I had to change the thumbnail a little bit because I have three people that I'm going to be discussing their presidential campaigns. We're discussing Cornel West right now. And as I said, I'm planning to vote for him in November next year. But if he's not on the North Carolina ballot, um, we have other choices. So I guess we should talk about that other choice. So give me a moment here and let me do this. And we should talk about that next choice. So that next option, shall I say. Let's see. And that is Claudia De La Cruz from the PSL. Um, and I'll let you talk about her because you belong to the Party for Liberation and Socialism.
Well, I'm not no longer a member for right now, but yes, that is definitely my home party.
Mhm.
That is definitely a party that I have spent almost a decade building beautiful relationships, meeting so many people, making so many great friends, making so many ties. I like to joke about how they're mob ties. Um, just a connection around the world. It's the biggest party in the United States of America that has the largest group of young people unimaginable around the entire state. I mean, not state, the entire country. And these young people are out there doing everything they can, platforming and centering the voices of working class people, uh, especially being pro union, being pro Palestine, being pro being pro liberation of the black community, being pro liberation of the trans community, just all around centering the voices of the oppressed. I would say the PSL saved me because I felt like I was lost politically after Bernie Sanders was destroyed his first time he tried to run by his own party. And I felt like I didn't have a political home until I met those great people in in the Connecticut branch, and they showed me so much more. So I definitely have nothing but love and gratitude and support for the PSL and everything that they do. And I have her platform right here. I met um, her vice president, uh, her running mate, who was running for vice president with her, Katrina, a few times throughout the years. Um, Beautiful family. I want to give my love out there to her family, her husband. Great organizer, great public speaker. Just makes so much sense when they speak. Now, Claudia De La Cruz, I haven't met her initially, but I've seen her speak. And she's a fireball. Let me tell you, when you talk about strong women, her she's a fireball. She's a fireball. So I was very, very pleased to see that she was able to do this. She's with the People's Forum originally. I believe she's the director of the People's Forum. I may be wrong on her actual um, title, but I know that she runs the People's Forum. The People's Forum is a very, very big organization now, and they have a great facility in New York City, in Manhattan, right in the heart. You could go right in, learn about what's going on in the world, and then actually join the march and start protesting. New York City is actually a great hub for the groundwork that they are building. And this is definitely a campaign that I can see can have a lot of light to make history probably once again. Like I said, mind you, this is the party that broke history last time they ran a political a presidential candidate with the most votes for a third party ever. So I am expecting to see the same type of momentum, either more or close, whichever. Very quick, their slogan is "End capitalism before it ends us."
Beautiful slogan.
One thing they have is seize the biggest 100 corporations, create a new economy for the people. I'm gonna repeat that: seize the biggest 100 corporations, create a new economy for the people, overthrow the dictatorship of the rich, build a democracy that serves the working class, end the rule of money and lock up the corrupt elite, cut the military budget by 90%. I like that. Peace, not war with China and Russia. End the war on Black America. As I just said, this party has 24/7 been on the streets. That's where the office is at, on the streets. They stood up their little storefronts, but they are always on the streets. They bring the streets inside and they teach. And defend women's rights, full equality for LGBTQ people, and save the planet from capitalism. Um, so I agree with those platforms. Just like with Cornell's platform, there's really nothing to dispute about that. It's really common sense, and it centers America. It centers exactly what we need. The military budget definitely hurts when I hear about how much we spend, and you think about how places like China military budget is about the same. No, not China. Sorry. When you hear places like North Korea military budget is the same budget that the NYPD uses. So it tells me that we're overspending and it's unnecessary. And the reason why we're unnecessary overspending is because we have an issue here called the military industrial complex. So I really, really appreciate how they said 90%. That's a big
Yeah,
one.
absolutely. And just and it's funny, but not funny that we have a lot of problems here in the United States, and we can't afford. That's what our politicians in both parties will tell us, that we just can't afford to solve these problems. But as soon as there's a crisis in the Ukraine or in Taiwan and now in Palestine with regard to Israel, guess what? The their billions just pour out like a spigot, water, just like it just all of a sudden the money is there to go and to what to basically destroy people halfway across the world, but no money for health care in this country, no
Right.
money to make sure that homelessness is a thing of the past, to housing for all, or or anything of that nature, or to, as I said, to make sure everybody has a proper education, whether it's a college education or a vocational education or something of that nature, or a jobs program. Making sure you have clean water in Michigan and Mississippi, or bridges that don't crumble. I mean, the money's not there. And
Right.
I heard her being interviewed on Bad Faith podcast with Brianna Joy Gray, and I was pretty impressed with what she's had to say about nationalizing the the Fortune 500, the top 500 corporations, because a lot of them are connected with, like, for example, the medical industrial complex. And
Right.
you could solve, if you could solve the problem with healthcare by nationalizing the Fortune 500, for example.
Yeah. And this is why, earlier when we talked about the different ideologies on the left, which is why I can never put the umbrella term that Americans like to use called the far left, which I think is derogatory in a way, as I already explained earlier, because what she's telling people is a glimpse of what socialism can look like in the United States, which, for instance, what socialism could look like in the United States will be off the behest and off the conversations and off the coalition of the working people. There will be no decision makings where there will be one person that tells us. No, we will have a Congress for the people. We will have a president that is elected for the people. We will have a people's bank instead of there being multiple banks and bank bailouts and all this stuff. No, there will only be one bank for the people. There will be nationalization of our resources, and the money that comes from actually properly trading and building with other countries will go towards our people and not towards the military industrial complex. Socialists don't even believe in taxation, but that's a different conversation. So she's just giving a glimpse of what we can accomplish for our working people for the better, compared to other platforms that people listen to. That's what makes Claudia De La Cruz different, and she's dead serious. Just to let people know, she's dead serious. If you haven't seen that interview, you should watch it because it's very, very good.
Yeah, as I said, I watched it. I was really impressed with it. I'm like, you know what? If she's on the ballot and Cornel West isn't, you know, um, I
The
was
second
certainly,
choice,
huh?
the
She
second
could
choice.
could very well be a second choice there, you know. And as I said, I was just like, guys, I never really thought of myself voting PSL. I mean, not against them, but I just like, I
Yeah,
was, I was like, I was pretty impressed. I was taken aback, and I was like, you know what, I could be persuaded to vote for her. And Cruz Garcia, I could do this. I could do this, you know.
right.
And
Yeah,
so I would just like I would I would be glad to, if in the event if Cornel West is not on the ballot, because you know ballot access being what it is throughout the United States and everything. But I hope to see, her campaign and Cornel West's campaign um do well, and all. um I
how
just
beautiful would it be to see two, one Democratic Socialist candidate and one Socialist Marxist Leninist. She's a Marxist Leninist candidate clashing for the big seat. How beautiful would that be? Now, I wouldn't say clashing. I would say competing for your
Yeah, I
vote.
know what you yeah, and I
How
know what you meant.
beautiful would that be? Seeing real left rhetoric, real
You
left
know,
rhetoric.
it's funny you mentioned that, because Is there such a thing as a socialist society? Richard Wolff was talking about that one time. Is there a socialist society? You take a country like Portugal, and you take a coalition government that they have, a socialist party government. Who's in that coalition? You have the Socialist Party, which is a center left party that has a basic socialist program. Their junior partner, the Communist Party, that favors a socialist program. You got the Green Party that's in the coalition that also favors a socialist program. So you have a coalition government of people who have some variety or flavors of socialisms that they make it work. And honestly, Portugal, for example, is probably the most free society in the world. Everybody who wants to sit there and say, well, socialism is so oppressive, whatever. Portugal is probably one of the most free societies in the world today. And they're going to be celebrating their 50th anniversary of the Carnation Revolution in April. And of next year in 2024. 50 years of peacefully smashing fascism in Portugal. I highly recommend a movie called April Captains. Yeah,
I'll check it out.
Yeah, what's her name? She was in the movie.
I am not very familiar with Portugal. I know about a lot of countries, but I really don't know that much about Portugal.
The Carnation Revolution is beautiful because there was a squadron of military captains and majors in the army and in the navy that basically coalesced together to try to put a stop to the fascist government. Now, when I say fascism in Portugal, it wasn't like Hitler's fascism. It was more like Pinochet's Chile. It was more like a Chilean style fascism, more like Franco's Spain. Mussolini light, I guess you can call it.
Yeah, that's fascist.
Yeah, it's still a shitty government. Yeah, yeah. Ron DeSantis heavy, you know.
Yeah. I mean, look what Ron DeSantis is doing right now. I don't know if people saw, he's ordering college campuses to stop Palestinian Palestinian protests.
Yes,
like
right.
Pro-Palestinian protests. What kind of fascist asshole would do something like that? Ron DeSantis.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No. He's America's Bolsonaro wannabe. But but anyway, the Salazar government in Portugal, Salazar was dead at the time. He died, I think, in 1970, and Martin Satino, I think that was his name. He was a little softer than Salazar. However, it was still a right-wing hellscape, and a squadron of military officers wanted to put a stop to the fascism and put a stop to the colonialism that was taking place in Africa. That was because the Portuguese Empire was still like one of the last fledgling European empires around at the time, and so they wanted to go and send the military, the insurgent military, into the streets of Lisbon to basically to try to do a coup, and their mission was to do a nonviolent coup, and they anticipated it was going to be violence, and they wanted to do it as nonviolently as possible. Here's the beautiful part about it: only 4 people died that day. When it was the government, military, and the armed forces movement that was the socialists on the other side, the tanks were kind of facing each other, and the government basically ordered to fire on into the leftists on the other side. The people in the tanks that was on the government side disobeyed the orders. They got off of their tanks and they marched toward the other side in a matter of hours.
Oh, I've heard of this, but I'm hearing more details about what you're saying. Yeah, I've heard of it. Yeah,
Carnation Revolution. People were so happy that the streets were flooded with red carnations, and the soldiers' uniforms were drenched in carnations, and all that. So free speech was restored. Women's abortion rights were legalized. I mean, just the clerical fascism nothing against the Catholic Church saying this, but the stranglehold that the Catholic Church had in Portugal, they're still the dominant religious institution, but their political power was greatly reduced. Right. And where your religious, your choice to believe or not to believe was left up to you. You separate church and state. And
I mean, the Catholic Church definitely has a reckoning. I won't even say reckoning. They have to apologize. I hope one day in the future that they apologize for what they have done to left thinking, because they actively were against communist and socialist movements. They were actively against them. Pope Benedict, who was Polish, he was definitely putting funding everything. He even worked with Nazis. He was very corrupt. He did everything he could to stop communism because he blamed communism for what happened to Poland. It's funny how we blame socialists and communists who liberated you from Nazi Germany, but you hate them, but yet you forgive Germany. This is kind of the issue I have with Israel. This kind of issue I have with the UK. I really should talk about it one day, but the Catholic Church is a problem to why so much fascism and right-wing rhetoric in Europe. They are a huge part of why we have the issues that we have today with the xenophobia and everything. They have done everything they can to kill leftist movements off of the guise of Red Scare.
Here in America, however, we do have like the Catholic worker movement that's done a lot of good for the poor, a lot of good anti-war, pro-civil rights work too. So I mean, they have a mixed history. There is.
Oh yeah, I'm going after the cardinals and the bishops and the Pope. I would never go after the working class Catholic people because they don't make those decisions. They don't know what's going on.
And then Bishop Romero in El Salvador was executed by the right wing I believe in 1980 because he was talking about the right wing death squads and all of that in El Salvador, what they were doing to the indigenous people in El Salvador and all of that. I believe it was a Robert de Busson government. Jesse Helms was a big fan of in the early 1980s. I mean, when he was the chair of the Senate Foreign Relations Committee. And a lot of people don't remember, I believe his name was Bishop Romero. I believe that was his name. He was trying to put a stop to the injustice that was going on in El Salvador at the time and everything. So, but Portugal is an interesting place that I would like to visit. I wanted to go in April, but I won't be able to. So, but anyhow,
I mean, look, they're from my understanding, the only socialists that get on my nerves over there is Spain. The Spain socialists are imperialist sympathizers. So
they're kind of like one more right wing, like Tony Blair territory, right wing.
Yeah. Yet they call themselves socialists. I get so mad.
The PSOE, the Partido Socialista, the only good thing they did is they pulled out of Iraq in 2004.
Yeah.
Which was
I remember reading about that.
Yeah, that was a fuck you to George W. Bush, and that I approved of. It triggered a it was a virtue signal, but Yeah. But anyway, I was going with this. But anyhow, I guess we should go with the next campaign. And William Stodden just texted me, so he added some details to what I'm going to be talking about in just a second here. So I know William, we go back a long way. So I used to be in the Socialist Party USA a while back. So
I am very unfamiliar only with like back in their heyday is what I have recollection about what they have done, which is they have done so much incredible stuff back in
yeah,
the day.
yeah.
I'm not really familiar of recent CPUSA.
Oh, well, I'll give you a quick history of the SPUSA. I'll give you a quick history of probably a hold on a second here. I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
There's something here just out of the way for a second, and I'll get back to that in a moment. I'll give you a quick history of the SPUSA, the modern incarnation of the SPUSA. We're talking about the Socialist Party of America as it was with Eugene Victor Debs, that Socialist Party, as it was founded in 1901. It
Yeah.
ran Eugene Debs for president in 1900, 1904, 1908,
This
1912.
was when he was in prison, right? And he got 1 million votes. It was
Yeah,
that campaign.
1920. Yeah, he was in prison in 1920, and Warren G. Harding pardoned him. He pardoned him, um, and Woodrow Wilson was the reason he ended up in prison. So,
Mm.
and the American Civil Liberties Union was founded as a reaction to the Espionage Act of 1917. It was a reaction when the U.S. government were cracking down on socialists, labor leaders, anarchists, and pacifists, and all that during the latter part of World War One. And anyway, the Socialist Party declined when FDR's New Deal took place, and they ran Norman Thomas, who was kind of soft and somewhat revisionist, but he was a decent man. But he was the one that took over for the Socialist Party after Debs died in 1926. And then they kind of decided to work within the Democratic Party. They're the predecessor in a lot of ways to DSA.
Yeah.
But there's it's like a family tree, because they in the 1960s there was internal fighting within the SP, because the right wing of the party insisted of working inside the Democratic Party. They were incredibly revisionist, very, very, very anti-communist, extremely pro-Israel. Of course,
Yeah.
the left. There was a lot of people on the left back then that were pro-Israel. That was nothing new back then.
I mean, the USSR literally acknowledged Israel. That was one of the mistakes of the USSR.
That's a bit of history that people, a lot of people on all sides don't know that part of the history. But
Right.
that was a contentious issue in the 1960s and early 70s. The party split three ways in 1972. And Social Democrats USA, which was the far right of the party, came out, was like supporting the Hubert Humphreys and the Henry Scoop Jacksons inside the Democratic Party. There was a middle group led by Michael Harrington called the Democratic Socialist Organizing Committee that became DSA in 1982. And then in 1973, a group of extreme pacifists, anarchists, left-wing social democrats, that type, old school people who were wanting to go back to the days of Eugene Debs, founded the Socialist Party USA. And I belong to that latter group, the SPUSA. And
Okay.
and for many years, we ran a series of candidates over the years and all of that. And William Stodden, the guy in this picture, is the 2024 candidate. He got nominated this past weekend. So he basically he wanted me to share some information. So I guess I'll go ahead and do that if that's okay. I'll go ahead and do that. All right, let me go ahead and
I
let's
apologize.
see.
My cat is being very loving and is knocking down my camera. So if it
Oh,
looks
that's
weird,
fine.
I
No problem.
apologize.
He said that the convention was online, Zoom. It was interesting to try to vote that way. highlights completely revised the platform. Claudia Miller and Nicholas Partika were elected co-chairs. SP lately, small and trying to recover from COVID, which is just about killed us as a party. Greg Payson is still the national secretary, but the national committee is oriented toward organization and activism, and rebuilding is a primary focus. Quick bio, and this is about Bill Stodden. Born and raised in Indiana, son of a steel worker and USWA member. He was a United States Marine Corps from 1995 to 99, bachelor's of science in history 2003 and political science in 2005, MA in political science 2007, PhD in political science 2012, taught ethics, government, and history for 8 years, then became a paratransit bus driver for 3 years, and now executive director of the Emergency Assistance Organization. Two kids. Joined SP in 2000. I remember that actually. Was nominated for president 2023. Became a convinced Quaker in 2010. Author, philosopher, percussionist, activism. Organized SP South Dakota in 2001. Was anti-war organizer from 2001 2005 in South Dakota. Then 2005 2007 in Missoula, Montana. Helped organize SP local in Southern Illinois. In 2008 was grievance chair for GA United at SIUC from 2009 to 2012, was Teamster from 2018 to 2020, was part of the SPUSA Cuba Solidarity Working Group in 2021, was part of the SP Anti-War Working Group in 2021, joined the Leftist Theory Study Group in 2022. And so there you have it. He's a friend of mine. We've known each other for for 23 years. So he is the candidate in for the year 2024, and I wanted to go and also pull a good plug for his campaign.
Nice, nice. I love to have him on the show. He seems like he has a lot to talk about. It's good to see that we have another socialist candidate out there, and especially coming from a very a very large, a long history party. I believe they're older than the Green Party. They're definitely older than the PSL. The PSL only been around since 2002, I believe, when they left the Workers' World Party.
2004.
2004, yeah. See,
I
so
got a
yeah,
question.
that's yeah. What's up?
What was the split about between Workers' World that led to the PSL? Nobody can ever give me an answer.
I wasn't there, bro. I was a kid when that happened. Oh
I
no.
have asked so many people, I never got an answer. What was the split about?
I don't know, but they're both parties are still going, so that's good. Workers World, I saw them, and I also saw them in Plymouth as well too. They're around. They are around. So they're still
Are
going
they
strong.
are they contentious with each other, or everything's good with them these days?
Um, so let me see. In the past, I remember when the first few years I was apart, we did not acknowledge any of their work. Um, I was told not to share anything, but relationships are definitely getting better because a lot of them are organizing together, especially on issues that they agree with. So whatever it was, it's over because I've been during the time when I was about to leave the party, and only and people ask me why I leave. I only left because I have internal issues going on. I love the party. I don't have any issues with the PSL. The PSL is the shit. But they are definitely building a relationship. They definitely are organizing together. They definitely are united. on a lot of issues. So whatever happened is the past now, and I think that's so important for people to focus on building coalitions and not let the past rule how we organize.
Yeah, I'm not a I'm not a dues paying member of the Green Party. I'm just only like just a registered member of the Green Party, but I consider myself pretty much an independent socialist at the moment. But there's been some
I do
talk
too.
about
Yep.
there's been some talk about reorganizing the old Socialist Party of America. I have a friend that lives in Pennsylvania, Catherine Ann McCloskey, who's been involved with activism over the years, and she's committed to the idea. And the only reason I love the idea in concept, but I also have very limited time too. That's
Yeah.
my dilemma because I work
I
graveyard.
do have I do have an honest opinion
Mhm.
on the matter. Um, I think the issue is also is the question of what is a principled activist, um, and how do we dictate being principled, and how do we dictate being unprincipled? When the United States started their war in Iraq the first time under George Bush Sr., there was a and mind you, I am only 31 years old, so I don't have a full understanding. So I hope that maybe you can help me out with this. There
I'm
were
54,
groups that
so
so there were groups that were pro sanctions because I guess is around the time where no one really knew what sanctions meant. Now we know they're acts of war. Now we know they are times 10 effective on the mortality rate of whichever country is sanctioned. But they didn't know that then. So I guess they felt people that were pro sanctions on the left felt that that was a good option instead of invasions. But then there was also the people on the left who were pro, no, there should not be sanctions or an invasion or any talk at all. Um, in any of this matter, and the U.S. needs to fall back. And I see how that differs and makes people want to back away from organizing with others. I'm just setting examples. I think that's what is the issue when it comes to being anti-imperialist and being a sympathizer to imperialism and not noticing that you are a sympathizer to imperialism, because I guess the principle of understanding war tactics we still have to learn because we're not there. So I understand that when it gets really, really big is where people start to separate or start to unite more. And I think now we're in the climate where we're starting to see where people are seeing all the aspects of what U.S. imperialism looks like, and now's the time. I mean, clearly, you see it out in the street. Now's the time to reunite and reorganize, and not let the COINTELPRO or any other type of examples of division cloud our judgment to continue to organize. I I think that's what's been going on. I don't have any other recollection. I try to like generalize it.
you know, you actually put a put a good perspective on this. I think that that's actually what happened. I think there were people on the left that felt like the sanctions was an alternative to war. Sort of like there are people on the left that think that drone strikes is an alternative to war. I mean,
Right.
they're like, oh
Still
well,
bad, but
yeah, because and everybody's kind of okay. No boots on the ground. Everybody's
right,
okay. I'm like,
right.
no, but you're still destroying people, and you're still destroying the infrastructure, which is going to make life shittier for people after the drone strikes are completed. You know, it's still not the answer.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
I mean, so um I've gotten, I've not been the best person over the years on these issues. I've always considered myself a pacifist, but I haven't thought it through until the last few years, and I have gotten significantly more anti-imperialist and thought about it more thoroughly. And foreign policy is like everything because when it comes to domestically with the military industrial complex and comes to the covert agencies that exist here, and it comes
Right.
to it's done abroad the world across the world, it affects the economy here in the United States. So I say that it is in fact everything.
Right.
And so with regard to sanctions on the surface, it sounds like, well, as an alternative, but what is it doing? It's harming, even if the people, I'm not going to mention any country by name, but we'll say
Yeah.
there's an actual bad country out there doing bad things.
Right.
Okay, the people themselves are going to be suffering as a result. So they're not responsible. So
You're
I
adding on to their oppression.
exactly, like for example, when I hear the late Madeline Albright says that it was worth it that 500,000 children died in Iraq. What a fucking
Disgusting.
monster she was.
Right.
I mean, I don't wish death on people, but when she died, I did not shed a tear.
Nope.
Yeah, I mean,
Nope.
because that's just monstrous what she just said.
Yep.
And it just
Yep.
and I refuse to acknowledge people that will go and have that such a monstrous sentiment.
Yeah.
I mean, you
It,
know,
it
and
is
and,
very disgusting. Yeah.
and it makes me angry that right now, and I'm gonna tell you, I've been listening to a lot of Greenwald lately. He's been on fire because I mean, he's been calling out the neocons in both parties, and Fox News basically decided they're going to go back to the year 2002, and with a lot of gusto, with hearing Judge Pirro and hearing all these other talking heads from Fox News, you would think it was the year 2002, and it was just after 9/11. What's going on over there in Israel with Gaza, and just like, and they're you know they're like I, if you sit there and if you say even if you're saying that you condemn, yeah, that if you condemn Hamas in the strongest terms, but you want Israel to show restraint and not go harsh on the Palestinians, you're considered anti-Semite. What the fuck? It drives me nuts. So, and then you got Nikki Haley say, "Finish them off, finish them." I mean, you got people who are actually cheerleading the G word. I don't want to get myself censored.
Yeah. I mean, I totally agree with you on that. It is absolutely disgusting. And I was in elementary school in 2002. So I'm getting a total whiplash on understanding how it was back then because I didn't see it until later on, until I came up in my adolescence and heard stories and then set into conversations with Jewish and Muslim and all Christian activists sitting down having conversations on how Muslim families disappeared around that time and no one knew till this day where they're at and if they're still alive. There was a total gen. Let's not use the word because I don't want to get you in trouble. There's a total G word that was going on, and it was enabled, and it was so bad to the point, just like how Palestinians are treated right now, that you are automatically justifying the bombings, and you think that is right because of a group like Hamas, who was funded by Bibi.
Hmm.
But
Absolutely.
apparently we don't have to talk about that no more. It's not a thing. And Hamas in itself, I've never heard of them being called a terrorist organization until now. I've never heard them be called a terrorist organization.
Here's
So
the thing.
I'm just like, has they been voted in as a terrorist, or is it just the West that's calling them a terrorist organization? And my other question is, how much do we know is true about that attack? And because I'm hearing from the people that have been released as hostages speaking nothing but good things about Hamas and how they were treated there. So,
Absolutely.
so there's an
Absolutely.
investigation that needs to happen, a serious one. And Israel should not be investigating themselves like the police here investigate themselves. It should be independent.
Yep. And here's the thing about Hamas. Hamas was created by the Mossad. I mean, yeah, I mean, it existed. It existed on its own, but Hamas was nurtured and it was groomed by I mean Hamas was nurtured and groomed by the Mossad with the purpose of divide and conquer, basically to disrupt the PLO, which was secular, which was left wing, and which was a reasonable mind, because it was, well, they had a Soviet orientation, and because of the Soviet orientation,
Right.
hello, oh, okay, because
I'm
of this,
still here. Sorry.
okay, no,
Camera's
because
acting up. Continue.
yeah, because of the Soviet orientation. Just like with Afghanistan, look, the United States backed Osama bin Laden and those rebels in Afghanistan. They had blowback. The 9/11 report called it blowback. This is their version of Hamas. Is their version of blowback. It is,
Right.
it's not anti, it's not anti-Jewish bigotry to say that this is blowback. To say that,
It is.
it's like saying all Americans are pieces of shit because
Right.
of what we did in the 1980s in Afghanistan. You know,
Exactly. And I keep having this conversation with white people. I'm going to be blunt about this. I don't need to have this conversation with black, brown, indigenous people. I'm having this issue with certain white people that automatically buy the American narrative that Israel is a force of good, and the brown people that are in open air camps is the problem. They are open air prisons, can't go nowhere, but they're the problem. I even had a friend that I unfriended. I've been their friend for years, and I invited them on my my programs when I was working for a nonprofit that was a Palestinian ran nonprofit. I feel embarrassed for ever inviting a Zionist musician over there. And I should have known and I should have learned, because at the end of the day, there's this settler mindset that uses religion to justify their colonialism. And that's why you see a lot of people that were like America first and they automatically want to go with Israel. The United States needs Israel to exist so they can exert their power and take oil in the Middle East. That's the only reason why they exist. They do not care for Jewish people. They only use them as a pawn for their global corporate interests. That's why Zionism is used. That's what Zionism is useful for to these oligarchs.
I had. Are you familiar with Jen Perlman?
Yes, yes,
Yeah, I've had her on my show here. She's Jewish, and she says that she was, when she was younger, she was an indoctrinated Zionist when she was younger. And when she found out about the ideology and everything, she did everything she could to refute this, and she wanted to let people know that there is a difference between Judaism and Zionism. They're
right,
a conflict. They're not
exactly.
one and the same, and everything. And actually, the biggest problem in this conflict really has nothing to do with the Muslims, has nothing to do with the Jews. It has to do in the United States with the Christian Zionists. They
Yes,
are the problems because they overlap and they are foreign policy neocons. They are warmongers, and they have a lot of influence in American foreign policy because of a warped interpretation of the Schofield Bible. And largely largely the Republican Party uses this mindset to go and drum up support for war in the Middle East, basically and using these misinformed bigots, mostly from southern states, and to go and uh, use frenzy, use their frenzy for war and all of that.
Yep. While they're persecuting black and brown Christian people in Israel, they do this.
Exactly. And in fairness, shit lives do the same thing to some degree, because Israel, with all its faults, it's a little bit safer to be LGBTQ in Israel. It is slightly, but the radical religious folks in the Knesset will probably put that to an end pretty soon.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's another thing that I wonder what's going to happen, because they're talking about whether BB is going to last after this. And in my opinion, he should be in prison already, before any of this happened. The state of Israel needs to end apartheid, and they won't have to worry about Hamas. They won't have to worry about the PLO. Whoever you want to make your enemies, whoever you want to fund now and make your enemies later, you don't have to worry about them if you end the apartheid state. It's that simple. End it. Give Arab people their full rights as they deserve. Respect Arab people and let them live their lives. Let Palestine be free. Why are their children growing in Gaza and they never left Gaza? Why?
Exactly. Yeah.
Like, that is, and we see people that support Black Lives Matter, and they never knew or understood that Black Lives Matter supports Palestine. Why do we support Palestine? Because we went through apartheid. And when you understand what apartheid means, well, we call it Jim Crow here. But if you understand what apartheid means, you will understand why Black Lives Matter supports Palestinians.
Mm-hmm.
And then you will realize that maybe you have biases. That's just it's just really that simple.
Now I'm going to say one positive thing inside Israel is a political party called Meretz. Have you ever heard of them?
Yes, I have. Yep.
Yeah, I tell people that Meretz, if you support Palestinian rights and justice, Meretz is the political party to support, and you will want them to do very well in the Knesset. Unfortunately, they're out of the Knesset completely at the moment. I look forward to the day when they come back pretty strong in there. I hope that day comes back. I hope the day where there's a significant left wing presence, and Benjamin Netanyahu and the parties to the right of Netanyahu are gone. But
I hope they all go to prison.
And go to prison. Go to prison. Absolutely. So,
hey, if we could put the former dictator of Honduras in prison, we could put BB in prison. Let's do that.
he not only for what's being done against the Palestinians. When Ariel Sharon was the prime minister after 9/11 took place, Benjamin Netanyahu was the foreign minister back then.
Yep.
He urged Tony Blair and George W. Bush to go into Iraq. He's complicit in that too, by the way. Yeah. I tell people never ever forget that.
Yeah. I mean, you got people like Piers Morgan. I appreciate the fact that he has people that censor or talk about Palestinians on his show while he interviews them uncomfortably and vigorously. But when he has Zionists on, he's nice to them. But when he gets tested by pro-Palestinian rhetoric, he likes to remind people, oh, I got known because I opposed the Iraq war. So I guess this white man needs to have a badge. It needs to be acknowledged as a white savior, in his opinion, because he was against the Iraq war. So whatever he says about Palestine is valid to him because he opposed the Iraq War. Like the gall. He even compared himself to Mandela. How dare you? We got clowns like this in our mainstream media saying dumb, incoherent statements.
Are you kidding me? Joe Biden got arrested with Nelson Mandela. Don't you remember that?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well,
I remember him saying that.
with regard to the Iraq War, it was politically dangerous to say that you opposed the Iraq War. Not, I won't say dangerous, but you were smeared in the very beginning when you opposed the Iraq War. They really did a smear job on people.
Right.
Not that I'm the biggest Sam Cedar fan in the world, but he did recently about how he had to have baseball bats with him in his studio back then when he was working for Air America, because of the sentiment when it came to the Iraq War at that time, and. As I said, I got my opinions of Sam Cedar, but he wasn't wrong about the Iraq War that he had to have a baseball bat to protect himself.
And we're seeing this here. This is exactly what they're rebirthing. They want to rebirth Islamophobia.
They want to so bad. And so, and Glenn Greenwald was calling out Fox. I mean, he was scorching the hell out of Fox News.
Fox News is crazy right now.
Judge Pirro sounded like the obnoxious Karen she was. Oh, God, I can't stand her. Yeah. Just like listening to her and everything. I'm just like, but gets my blood pressure going and everything. Oh, do you see that?
I'm there with you, brother.
Do you see the video? Do you see the rising when Robbie Sobe was sitting there cursing out Breonna Joy Gray?
I did not see that.
Oh yeah, like about 2 weeks ago, I believe it was.
I gotta check that out.
I'll forward that to you. Oh, I was so upset seeing that. I'm like, and they were arguing. They were debating about the situation with Israel, and he cussed her out on the air. You should have seen Savvy Sav's reaction to that. She was just like, "What the fuck?"
Yeah, and this is what I'm saying. These people, these Zionist lovers, are. Whenever you question them with logic, they automatically get defensive and ready to fight you. But you're supposed to be the ones that are the good guys. Like, you're not showing any type of moral or understanding for me to listen and understand what you're saying. You're automatically cutting people off. I've been listening to all types of interviews when they have these Zionists on. They automatically want to cut you off. They automatically want to label you. They automatically want to yell until you don't say anything back. They are like children on this issue. Children. They go back to their toddler phase. They go kicking and screaming and claiming victim while kids are being bombed. Notice while they're having this tantrum, while the United States is talking about how we should have a debate on a ceasefire in the UN, children are being bombed while all of you are trying to be childlike. It's absolutely appalling for what I have been seeing in these past 2 weeks, and it shows the actual colors of what is the issue in this climate, honestly.
Absolutely. And here's the thing: when people throws around the anti-Semitic trope or accusations, I'm like, really? Why don't people talk to Glenn Greenwald about this, or why don't they talk to Aaron Maté or Max Blumenthal about this? There are Jewish voices against what's going on in Palestine, against
thousands.
Yes, and they're not just a fringe group. This is a lot of American Jewish people are uneasy about what's going on in Israel now these days. they're not as committed to the Zionism like they used to be.
Right.
A lot of them have, times have changed, and they seen the injustice and everything, and they don't want any part of it.
Yeah.
Not in their name.
You even see grand rabbis out, thousands. I saw parties of Jewish people partying and having a good time. They even stopped the music and criticize Israel. There's so much great solidarity I'm seeing out of the midst of all this. There's so much great solidarity I'm seeing between the Muslim and the Jewish community. It's love. And I love how they're in coalition, leading the charge out in the streets. And here in New Haven, we just saw a big mass demonstration. And the police are not on your side, people. If you haven't been out there yet, I saw videos of them attacking and assaulting everybody that's pro-Palestinian, everyone. They let the Zionists say whatever they want. They let the Zionists target whoever they want, and they attack peaceful protesters. That's literally all I saw.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I'm going to tell you something that may blow your mind. Okay. You know who Abraham Foxman is, right?
Yes.
Always a hardcore Zionist all his life. About a year ago, or not a year ago, maybe about 7-8 months ago, when the Netanyahu government was first elected, he said, "This is Abraham Foxman." He said, "I'm beginning to question whether I should continue to support the state of Israel." That's how far to the right Israel has gotten. When you got that ADL guy, Abraham Foxman, saying, "What the fuck?"
Right.
Right. And I mean, he's a jerk, and he gets it.
After all the atrocities that Israel has done, it's insane. It's insane that this guy, Bibi, has pissed off everyone that thought they had an idea what's going on. Absolutely. And we knew. Willie, everyone knew. I am just a working class man. I'm just a working class man. I have no degree. I'm in college debt. I only completed 2 years of my college time. And I have listened to so many other people that have had degrees and everything that are more smarter than I am. And when I talk to them about Israel, everyone knows wholeheartedly that this was going to be an issue when he came back. Everyone knew something big was going to happen. Everyone had a feeling that it was going to get crazy, especially with the protests that were going on before that attack happened, especially because we're talking about as if Israel had a civil war. We were talking about if that was going to happen, if Israel was going to start fighting each other. That's how crazy it was getting there. And I think that this attack, I have ideas, and I don't want to give out all the ideas. Maybe we can talk about a different show because basically on time. But yeah, I feel that this was not at all a surprise to Bibi at all. I really don't. I really don't. And I will leave it with that. Just like how we have our 9/11 conspiracies about the Bush family and the Bush administration. I will leave it at that.
Yeah,
because I'm not there. I'm not in Israel. I'm not there.
Yeah, but, well, I have my thoughts and what some people will call conspiracy too, and all of that, and
right.
So this rush to World War III that people seem to be wanting. It's insanity. I'm probably going to have to go because I need to get a little bit of rest before work.
No problem. Yeah, man, get your rest.
Let's say hello to everybody on the chat line here. Yeah. Okay, we have Daniel Berry Sports Highlights. Hey, how are you doing? We had John Kemper, and how are you doing? Warren is here.
Hey, Warren.
How are you doing today? We got somebody from North Carolina, Earl O'Lurl. Yeah, he's from North Carolina, I believe, in the Wilmington area.
Nice.
So we got a North Carolina connection there. Let's see. And Warren says everyone knew BB was evil as shit. Just everyone knew Biden was evil as shit for a long time.
Yeah.
Yep, I didn't vote for him.
Yeah, I mean, BB definitely is doing exactly what we knew he was going to do.
Exactly. So let's see here. Biden is Catholic. He probably wants the Bible apocalypse shit. He I don't think he's a fundamentalist, though. I mean, Biden, he's a doddering old fool. I don't even think his brain's too scrambled to have a coherent at this point. Yeah. Let's see. What's good? Yep. It's all good. Let's see. Jamarr, you say you're from North Carolina too, right? If I remember correctly.
I have a lot of family.
Okay. Didn't you say like Pine Tops in Asheville?
Yes.
Yep, I think I remember that conversation. Okay. All right. Let's see.
A lot of family in North Carolina. A lot.
I actually underestimated Biden's evil. Wanting to fight Russia was like a single worst thing he could do. I still think that's from the 2016 election hangover. I think that Hillary
right,
connected with Russiagate.
Yeah, and Russia would have been a great ally for them because Putin, his politics are very similar to American Republicans.
Yeah.
They did that on purpose.
Well, the thing about it is Russia and Iran did the United States a favor with ISIS. That's the dirty little secret that the media don't tell people about. We don't have an ISIS problem anymore because Russia doesn't like ISIS. Syria doesn't like ISIS. Iran doesn't like ISIS.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, they may not like the United States, but they have a selfish vested interest to not see ISIS grow as a force. So
right.
Let's see. Oh, that's okay, Warren. Warren thought I was from South Carolina. No, that's okay. That's not a problem at all. So I'm going to have to grab a bite to eat and then shortly later. Hey, it's great seeing you again. I got your information at the description box below. So everybody, please follow Jamarr Jabari. Give him a sub on YouTube. Follow him on Twitter and all the other appropriate platforms that he's on. And we got to help each other when it comes to independent media because they're trying hard to make sure independent media has no say.
Well, yeah, definitely. Yeah. Thank you so much for having me on, and I wish you a good rest. And shouts out to Tommy Nation, whatever he's up to right now. He's supposed to be on the show, but
yeah. If you want to stick around for a minute, I'll go ahead and put on this closing credits shortly. So, if y'all like what you heard, please press like and comment. Comment anyway. If you disagree, we'll have a conversation. Feel free to share the content on this channel. As the First Amendment absolutist, it's my duty to inform you, create your own platform, and utilize it because we're the muckrakers of our time. Subscribe to this channel. Reject corporate media. I am Willie Bragg. Drop by tomorrow at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 2 p.m. Pacific Time for Bragland, our Halloween show. All right. Take care, folks. See ya.